Hello my crafty friends, it's Marie from Marie's Vermont Creations, and I am sharing another Team Tiny Hop card with you today, and our theme is tea or coffee. So I'm going to show you how I got this card made. I'm also going to share a little tea project. So I'm showing you 4 alcohol inks. I have a little shallow pan of water, and I'm just going to randomly drop these 4 alcohol inks into this water, and then I have a piece of lunch bag cardstock from Brutus Monroe over to the side that's cut down. I have one glove on because I am famous for forgetting and staining myself. So then I'm going to push this cardstock into the water and pull it out, and you get this awesome marbled effect. And so I'm going to set that aside to dry. I do take my finger and just fill in some spots that didn't actually get wet. So it's just regular cardstock, nothing fancy about it. So I had done a different idea with this card. So as you can see, I've torn it apart. I have taken the Caffeinated owl from the Rabbit Hole Designs, and I have stamped that in Gina K Amalgam ink and colored that and fussy cut that out. I'm now taking some brown cardstock that I had from my stash, and I really wanted glitter stock. So if you guys don't have the glitter stock in a color that you want, here's what you can do. I'm going to take the Versamark ink pad and just make sure to liberally coat this piece of cardstock. And then I'm going to take some Brutus Monroe-Glass slipper embossing powder, and I'm going to cover this entire piece and heat set that until it's smooth and melted. This has a sparkle in it, but it's got such an awesome shine on it. It's a newer embossing powder, but if you had any embossing powder with glitter in it that you wanted, I don't know if I would do a color, obviously, because that might cover up your cardstock. And if you didn't get good coverage the first time, you can always repeat the process. Put down the Versamark ink again once it's cooled, coat it again with Versamark ink, and then recoat it with the embossing powder, and you get this awesome effect. So you can create your own glitter stock with whatever cardstocks you have on if you want to make sure to match your project. So I'm just going to make sure this is all good and melted, and look how shiny and awesome that is. So I'm just going to clean that up. I am going to trim this down a little bit. I apologize. The traffic. I live on Main Street here in our town, and it's very busy. So I'm going to get that adhered to the panel. I'm going to stamp the sentiment onto the same chocolate cardstock and white heat emboss that, and use the MFT skinny strips die to cut that out with my die cutting machine. So a little bit about Team Tiny. This is a hop that we do once a month. It's for teams who are not monetized. We have made the decision to not use the 1,000 subscriber mark as the benchmark for that. We waited because there's a lot of hours that has to be watched before you actually get monetized. So we're going to let everybody stay in the group until that happens. So we have a bunch of new creators. So what you do is click in the hashtag in the description of this video, and you can hop along to all of the great content for this tea and coffee themed hop without any commercials. So I hope that you will hop along and check out everyone's great work. So I am going to take some of the scrapbook adhesive foam squares and cover the back of my owl and get that adhered down. And then the sentiment strip that I cut out, I am going to take those same adhesive squares, and I'm going to cut them into thirds so that they're, they'll fit on the back without showing. I do have somewhere some skinny strips, but I had no idea where they were. So this works in a pinch. So go ahead and get those all set down on the back. Of course, I'm going to stamp the sentiment first. I haven't even done that yet. Got so busy talking about Team Tiny, I didn't even pay attention to where we were in the process. So I am going to use my anti-static powder tool on this piece of dark cardstock. This keeps the embossing powder from going where it doesn't belong. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment that says, "Who needs caffeine?" Well, everyone does. I'm going to coat this with some alabaster embossing powder and get that heat set until it's smooth and melted. And then, like I said, use the MFT skinny labels die to get that cut out. I recently gave up coffee. I have done this a few times. I'm sensitive to caffeine, but I was drinking way too much coffee. So I've actually lightened up on that and have switched to tea. So that's why I decided to add also a little tea project here at the end of this. So I kept this die set together. Typically you would clip them apart, but I kind of like having the spare ones that are cut out when I do this. So I ended up with an extra brown label that I can just put in my stash and use whenever. If I had planned it correctly, I could have cut out in the entire sheet of them and then had a bunch to spare. So like I said, I'm cutting these down into thirds, and I ended up needing 4 of them. So I have one square that's a little shorter, but you're always needing random shapes. So I find myself cutting these all the time to make them fit what I need. So I'm going to get all the backing peeled off of that and get it adhered down to the card. Then I'm going to stamp the inside of the card, which is something that I don't typically do. I always forget. I get excited. I like to leave a lot of blank room because I am famous for writing a long message, but I am going to take the owl stamp that I had used for the front of my card, and I am going to ink this up with Distress Oxide ink in Tumbled glass, and I'm going to just stamp it kind of off in the right-hand corner. And then I am going to take the other sentiment from this stamp set that says #wideawake, and I'm going to stamp that next to the owl using the Gina K Amalgam ink, and that will finish this card once I get the front panel adhered to it. I was going to put it up in the top, and then I decided no, I wanted it in the bottom to give me as much room as possible. I don't typically put designs in there, but I watch Amy R on her channel a lot, and she says she just writes over it if there's a message that she wants to. But I think I've left myself a lot of room to make sure that I have a good message in there. Again, I apologize for the traffic noise today. So there's that. So now for the tea project, I have a 6x6 piece of pattern paper that I am going to fold at the diagonal and just crease with my fingers. You could use a bone folder. Then I'm going to take my scoreboard, and I am going to put the folded edge right up to the side, and I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch. I'm going to do it on the one side, then I'm going to flip it over and score it again on the other side so that it makes sure to go through both layers of that pattern paper. Then you're going to take the folded edge and put it towards the top and score it at 2 3/4 inches, flip it around and score it at 2 3/4 inches. Then you're going to, I'm going to move the scoreboard out of the way and going to fold on the score lines so that the peaks meet in the middle right there. And then fold on the next score line. And as I'm folding it up, I'm going, something doesn't seem right. Well, I realized I was folding it into the wrong direction. So you have to flip it outward so that the little pockets are on the outside. And then you have pockets for 2 little tea bags, or you could use it for Ghirardelli chocolates. Little treats would fit in there. So I added a hole punch off camera and added some ribbon and added the caffeinated bee that I had colored previously for my first version of my card for this little quick project if you wanted to give it out as a little thank you for everybody. So check out Team Tiny, click in the hashtag below and follow along and give everyone some love by commenting, and subscribing to their channels. I hope that you have a great day.